we now begin with the theme of convolution further. This happens to be the most important part of not only this subject, but in general it is required by you in subjects to come, that is control systems, signals and systems, digital signal processing. In general, this is a system engineering aspect and it is applicable in all engineering disciplines wherever the real-time systems, actual physical systems are taken into consideration. So, right now we are considering that the input is real-time, some variable, and output is of the same or different variable. Same in case of a moving coil voltmeter, output was deflection, but otherwise for RC circuit, RLC circuit, a resistive circuit, input is voltage, output is also voltage. So input is voltage, output is also voltage, and output voltage is specific, is related to input voltage in a specific manner. I am trying my level best to explain the things to you. The idea is not so easy as one may consider. It's not rocket science even. So output means we have already ruled out that output cannot depend on instantaneous input. So output is related to input in a specific relationship. So it is the weighted sum of current and previous inputs, and the weights is a curve, that is HT. So last time we had plotted input output waveform, and based on that we were expected to model the system. All these things in continuous domain are difficult because of the fact that the concept of integration comes into picture, and that is not so easy to understand. Therefore, rather than means we adopt a simpler approach. The simpler approach is that I had said that whether swimming should be taught in a tank or in a well. There are two approaches. We are adopting a somewhat convenient approach which new generation thinks appropriate. That is a simpler one to understand, not exposing them to hard realities at the beginning. So what we do, that this voltage input, which is a physical phenomenon having existence at every instant of time, what I am doing is I am not considering all inputs, but I am sampling them, and I am sampling at a sufficiently fast rate, and as it tends to infinity I reach to limit of sum, that is integration. Integration is limit of sum. So what I do, I don't working on VIT, VIT and HT is difficult. Working on VIT, VIT and HT is difficult. I work on the sampled values. So let us say at every millisecond, then I can go for every microsecond, then I can go every nanosecond. I will sample this input and this output. So I will have with me a train array of. So the function, the graph gets converted into a stream of numbers, a sequence of numbers, samples. Means suppose what I can do is that, again I repeat, it's very important, it's not digital, it's discrete. Suppose that a child is growing in his height. Now there is a very long wall available, maybe of say 110 meters at least, or 10 is quite easy, maybe say 20 meter. A 20 meter wall is available. Then what is done, that on that wall when the child is of the age, say he can stand up, say at the age of say 2 years. At the age of 2 years, and this is the example which I am giving about this, what is discrete signal. So a child of 2 years, so he stands up here. He stands, let us say this is a child, he stands up here, right? So this, see, I am trying my level best, I don't know to what extent I am successful. The child stands up here, right? And at his second birthday, there is a stylus, and on the wall, a mark is done here. A mark is done here. At the wall, at the beginning distance, on the left, extreme left side, beginning of the wall. Is it clear? And here, what is written? Here, 2 years, or we can say 24 months. 24 months. This I am taking because prior to the child will not be able to stand. Then the wall is of say 20 meters. 20 meters about 66 feet. 20 meters about 66 feet. Right? Then what is done? Immediately at its next monthly birthday, 25 months, the child is made to stand at 6 inches away from the original position. He stood at extreme left. Now he is made to stand 6 inches on the right side. So child stands here and I put this mark, right? And here I say 25 months, right? Months is now a June, 24, 25. So I put the dots. So 132 months, 66 feet into 2. In each 1 feet, 2 readings I can have. 132 months, that is 11 years. So from 2 years to 13 years, this is plotting. From 2 years to 13 years, and you will find it like this, only like this. These are the points. Remember that the height is not written in figures. दोन फूट में 61 इंच किंवा 61 सेंटीमीटर किंवा 610 मिलीमीटर. Whatever you do, there is rounding. But when you put the exact dot, there is no rounding. So that is, so what is this? This I can say, as I will use the H, magashi वापरत H वापरत नहीं, capital H वापरत. H. What is H24? This length is H24, right? H24 is a real number. It's approximately 61 centimeter or 611 millimeters, 61.1 or 610.2 millimeter, right? So H24, H25. So what is this? It is sequence or array. Are you getting me? Height of the child measured and plotted on the wall at every monthly birthday, starting from 24th birthday for next 11 years. That is a discrete sequence, right? Is it clear? So it's not a digital number. Now, can you provide it to computer? Can you provide this input to computer? That will require analog computers which are obsolete now. But what we can do, we are having very accurate sets of measuring now. You can measure it by further finer scale. And in the height of a child, 0.1 millimeter is negligible. So you can round to 0.1 millimeter scale and then feed that number. So that H24 is a real number, but when you store it in computer, it will be some finite width of bits in some format. So that is approximation. That is called as quantization error. Means the exact height of a child cannot be represented by a number which contains finite number of bits, right? So whatever is stored by using numbers in a computer is approximation, but 50 years back, when the concept of digital signal processing has come for the first time, that time the digitization was not so accurate. So there were some errors of quantization. That was a very research issue. Nowadays it is almost negligible because we are having enough accurate measurement because of the large number of analog to digital converters and storage of data in computers. So once the concept of array is done and n then can start. So t is what is t? T is real time, which is a continuous real variable starting from 0 onwards. What are you doing? Hello. Look here. T is a real variable starting from 0 and continuing up to infinity as a continuous variable. It can be plotted on line. What is meaning of continuous variable? You cannot distinguish past and present or present and future. Are you getting me? Time, I am experiencing time. What is the instant? Instant is having how much time duration? Instant. What is the time duration of an instant? Huh? What is the length of a point? Is 0, right? Infinitesimal we can say. Like is that instant. So a finite time is a collection, listen very carefully, a finite time which we experience. Again, that is in, we can say, in Newtonian context, because if we go for Einstein then things will differ further. So in Newtonian context, the time duration which we experience and measure in finite quantity, it is in fact a combination of infinite non-separable instants connected together. This instant and previous. What is a line? It is a collection of infinite non-separable points, connected points. Is it right? So that is continuous. And in discrete, you can distinguish current and previous because it is at a distinctly finite distance, either in space or in time domain, even though that finite distance may be negligible, but finite distance. And points are connected to each other. Points are connected to each other. So actually, this is a paradoxical situation. Do you know what is the difference of tangent to a circle and circle? Whether they meet at one point or
touching the tangent touches the circle at
one point. So there is a very confusing, strong argument. What will happen if I connect two adjacent points on a circle and extend them further? Confusing. What is exact? I leave it up to you. You got the question? If I take a circle, one point and next adjacent point if I take and draw a line, what will happen? Not secant. Next adjacent point. Next adjacent point on the circle. I choose one point and I take next adjacent point and I draw a line. So can it be said, it's just to see, you are students of an engineering college. So as I already stated, even though whatever you are supposed to be exposed in the classroom by the teachers, even though it is not expected that it should be like complex as Einstein's theory of general relativity, it should not be too simple as the headline of Daily Pudari. म्हणजे वर्गामध्ये आईन्स्टाईनची जनरल थिअरी ऑफ रिलेटिव्हिटी स्पेशल सोपी होती, जनरल अजून अवघड. तितकं क्लिष्ट जरी सांगायचं नसलं ते पुढारीतलं वाचून दाखवायचं पण नाही आहे, विच इज इन्स्टंटली अंडरस्टूड. अँड जनरल थिअरी ऑफ रिलेटिव्हिटी इज नेवर अंडरस्टूड. सो समथिंग इन बिटवीन वेअर देर इज सम काइंड ऑफ व्हॉट यू कॅन से, म्हणजे समजा डोक्यात न्यूरॉन्स असे धडकत असतील तर काहीतरी काही वेळ ते काय इतक्या इझिली कळत नाही, मग कळण्याकरता विशेष प्रयत्न झाले पाहिजे. सो नाव बाय दिस व्हॉट आय अचीव हिअर द टाइम ॲक्सिस वॉज continuous and it was covering all the time. Now this real variable t is now converted into an integer variable n which is distinct 0 1 2 till infinity. So the number of points on time axis are uncountably infinite, whereas number of points on in sample domain are still infinite but countable infinite. लक्षात आलं का? Natural real number are infinite. Similarly, natural numbers, and if we include 0 then it becomes whole numbers, are also infinite, but in real numbers are uncountable infinite, whole numbers are countably infinite, right? So I can distinctly plot a graph of V in n and V o n. I can distinctly plot a graph of V in n and V o n. In that case then, when I say, now I can say the concept of convolution. Output is dependent on what? Output is dependent on current and previous input, and this dependency is a linear dependency. Means what I can say, output is a linear combination of current and previous inputs, and for every previous input there is associated weightage. Therefore, if current output VON, what can be said about VON? VON will be dependent on current input. What that is? V in n plus is also dependent on previous input. Now I can say previous, whenever I enter into sample domain, I can say distinctly current sample, previous sample, previous to previous sample. So V in n plus V in n minus 1 plus V in n minus 2, but it depends on, so it will depend differently on different inputs. So there are some constants which are system constants. RC, what you take, so that is H0. So current output depends upon the current output depends upon the current input by a weighing factor H0. So what is Hn, or we can use Hk. का तर generally when I go in, index can be any index. Whenever you want to combine multiple, then you can use same. Otherwise Hk and Hn, when we think independently, it is one and the same. So what is Hk? Hk is the proportion with which the input occurred k samples ago is contributing in determining the current output. लक्षात आलं का? H0 current input multiplied by H0 contribution in current output. Then what is this? V in of n minus 1. So another constant, that is H1. So what is H1? It is the weight or proportion with which I am at n, right? So what is H1? The proportion with which input occurred when one sample ago, input of one sample ago is contributing. म्हणजे VON काढत असताना V in n ला H0 नको म्हणायचं, V in n - 1 ला H1 नको म्हणायचं, V in n - 2 ला H2 नको म्हणायचं, and this continues till infinity. So this is an infinite sum. Remember, as you proceed means it is like what you are today because of what you received yesterday, what you received day before yesterday. That can even go back to previous birth as well. So your state when you are born, and that state is fixed, which you may not be able to remember previous, but the state is culmination of all previous things. So output depends on current, previous, all such inputs. So what I can write, VON is equal to summation H of k x of n minus k starting from 0. Is it clear? K starting from 0 to infinity. Right? And what is Vn? VON, sorry, not x. I think you should have corrected me. What this should be? X नाही काय असलं पाहिजे? इथे x लिहिलं चुकून मी काय पाहिजे? V in. By the way, what is VON? VON or V in n? What is V in n? What is that? What is V in n?
Current input.
What it is representing what? Actually, this was not there. Earlier, I had a continuous input, continuous output. What is V in n? V in n is input at that time where t is equal to n into capital T, where capital T is the sampling interval. And as this capital T tends to 0, this will go where? As capital T tends to 0, this expression will go as VON is equal to summation H of k x काय करता येईल? कसं लिहिता येईल? See that he complained that because of fan he is feeling drowsy and he feels that this is something which is not so good, and others are complaining because they want means that, see, this is signal and not. It's a very interesting example. You in electronics you will very frequently come across the concept of signal and noise. So the fans, both may be sound and the comfort is a noise to him. So he wants to remove that. But his attempt to remove that was being considered unwanted by the others because for them it was a signal. जो ह्याला डिस्टर्बन्स आहे ते इथं नुसतं इनपुट आहे चांगलं, this will be getting converted to अगदी आता हे सायंटिफिक नाही, सायंटिफिक आहे ऍक्च्युली, पण साध्या अगदी जरा आपण सोप्या सोप्या पद्धतीने करूया. काय करायला लागेल, एच के च्या ठिकाणी असणार एच टी असणार, एच टी नाही एन आहे आणि एक के म्हणजे वेगळातला व्हेरिएबल होतो, टाऊ येतो, टाऊ किंवा टाऊ टाऊचं जमलीमध्ये म्हणून टाऊ यू वापरूया, यू एच यू व्ही ऑफ टी मायनस आणि काय येतं डी डी न्यू डी न्यू आणि लिमिट्स यूचे
0 to infinity.
Is it right? HU for at a given time t, HU v of t minus q du. तो आता ग्राफिक दाखवतो तुम्हाला. हा v इन t आहे. हा एच यू आहे, आता इथे यू एक्स घालतो, एच यू आहे आणि व्हॉट यू डू राईट, एच यू व्ही ऑफ टी मायनस यू डी यू फ्रॉम 0 to infinity. ते करायचं, ते कसं करतो आपण, हाऊ डू ॲट गिवन टी. So suppose if I want to find output at here, so I want to find what is VOT here. So what I do, I take this VU mirror image. I am trying my level best so that you should understand something. Right. So HU V in T minus U at U equal to 0 काय होणार, हा T आहे, इथला काढायचा मला VOT काढायचा, V in T VOT, आता इथला काढायचा मला, तर हा V in T आहे, हा V in T बरोबर. U0 म्हणजे काय, U0 म्हणजे HU H0 हा आला बरोबर. V in T minus U म्हणजे कुठला, हा इनपुट, हा इन this into this multiplication, U in du, so U is increasing slowly till infinity. हा काय आला, something U आहे, तर हा HU, U is on this side, HU आणि हा काय आला, V of T इथं आहे minus U, right? So these two curves, this is HU into V of T minus U, corresponds to the product of two functions, input function and mirror imaged weight function. Mirror image weight function point by point, and then you can plot a curve. You can plot that curve. And area under that curve is current output. And आता मला इथलं काढायचं आहे, तर कसं काढणार? I slide it. ही एका ट्रान्सपरंट शीटवर मी, एका प्लास्टिक शीटवर मी हा रिमेश काढतो आणि ती शीट मी सरकवत नेणार. सो ॲट गिवन पॉइंट the overlapped curves multiply each other and area under the multiplied curve represents area under multiplied curve represents VOT. Is idea clear? So now very interesting thing. Something which cannot happen, but while formulating mathematically we should not rule out that, so we should be making provision for it. Now you tell me, an ideal amplifier of gain 2, an ideal amplifier of gain 2, what is input output relationship? 2 times input. So आता डिस्क्रीट काय घेतलं होतं, कंटिन्युअस काय करता डिस्क्रीट घेतलं होतं. नंतर पुढच्या सेमिस्टर नंतर तुम्ही शिकाल की ऍक्च्युअली वापरता आपण डिस्क्रीट वापरायचं. आता फोटो घेता आपण अॅनालॉग घेत नाही, डिजिटल्स घेतो. सो डिजिटल सगळी वापरलं जातं. सो VOT इज इक्वल टू 2 VINT, बरोबर आहे. आयडियल एम्प्लीफायर ऑफ गेन 2. It is ideal amplifier of gain 2. Now you tell me, हा असं आपण म्हणलंय, पण असंच नाही, ठीक आहे, असंच नाही काय त्याच्या चर्चा करायला. नंतर मग डिस्कशन तर काय सांगितलं, फॉर एव्हरी सिस्टीम, इट इज ट्रू फॉर एव्हरी सिस्टीम, for every system there is a transfer function. This is a weight function. What it indicates? HT or HU, whatever it may be. It किंवा H आपण टी चालतं, पण T आणि U मध्ये कन्व्हर्ट जमली म्हणून आपण म्हणता मुद्दाम HU म्हणूया. VINT is input function, input signal given to the system. VOT is the output signal coming out of the system, and HU is the transfer function of the system. What is HU? HU मागच्या वेळी अगदी रिदमिक मध्ये म्हणून घेतलं. HU is the proportion with which the input occurred U time ago is contributing in the current output. लक्षात का? HU is the proportion with which the input occurred U time ago is contributing in the current output. Right? So the ultimate equation what we have said is like the same. VOT is equal to convolution 0 to infinity H of U Vin of T minus U du. Right? So it is applicable for all systems in the world. It is applicable for all systems in the world, and then the function HU defines different systems. For every system there is unique HU. For every system there is unique transfer function. So now can anybody tell me, if I have such a system, then what would be HU for such a system? What will be HU for such a system? It's very difficult question. I am stressing the thinking ability. म्हणजे असं ते करे म्हणजे याच्यावर आहे, तुम्ही ते सिरियसली घेत असतात तर काय म्हणजे आता ज्याला आपण असं म्हणतो की आता अलीकडे कधी तुम्ही वाचलं की 5वी पासून IITचं हे घ्यायला सुरू केलंय ट्युशन्स. मग तिथं एखादा सेन्सिबल मुलगा असेल आणि त्याला खूप बंबार्डिंग झालं तर त्याला स्ट्रेस येतो प्रचंड, इंटलेक्च्युअल स्ट्रेस. आता इंटलेक्च्युअल पण तो कशावर तो घेणार, घ्यायचाच नाही म्हणलं कायचाच येत नाही. म्हणजे जसं त्या स्टोरी आहे बादशाह आणि 4 चोर. एक जो सेन्सिबल चोर असतो बादशाह दरबार झाकून काढतो तो आत्महत्या करतो आणि जो निर्लज असतो तो गारावर दिंडी काढते, दुसऱ्या दिवशी आंघोळ करून पुन्हा दरबार देतो. तर आता इंटलेक्च्युअल स्ट्रेस ही अशी परिस्थिती आहे. VOT for every system in the world, this is true. VOT is equal to HU V in T minus U du integrated from 0 to infinity. So what HU will give you this? What HU will give you this? It's a very interesting question. Anybody getting any idea? Listen very carefully. VOT is here. VOT is dependent only on input at that instant. म्हणजे ते मला सांगितलं परत. VOT is equal to 2VT and I think you should be able to derive. You must have been sharp in calculus. VOT for every system, VOT is like this. For every system, it is like this. Then, what would for every system VOT is HU V in T minus U du. So for that system for which VOT is 2V in T, what is HU? हे काढायचं. Given HU, you can find VOT. For if a system is given to you, input is given to you, HU is given to you, you can find VOT. It is called as analysis. And synthesis, given VOT, find HU. So put this. So what is V in, what is VOT? 2V in T is equal to बरोबर आहे? Right. 2V in T is equal to HU V in T minus U D. हे कधी शक्य आहे? You must be able to think. HU V in T minus U du integrated from 0 to infinity. Integrated from 0 to infinity. टी मायनस यू टेल्स यू, व्ही इन टी मायनस यू म्हणजे काय? काही काळापूर्वीचे इनपुट. मला लक्षात, ट्राय टू अंडरस्टँड. व्ही इन टी मायनस यू, काही काळापूर्वीचे इनपुट. तर काय पाहिजे आपल्याला? या साईडला व्ही इन टी आहे, या साईडला प्लेन व्ही इन टी आलेला आहे. म्हणजे याचा अर्थ काय? हे तुम्ही शिकलेलं नाहीये नक्कीच, त्यामुळे काहीतरी शिकलेलं नसताना तुमचं तुम्हाला आलं तर ते रिसर्चच आहे. कारण जगात कुणाला माहित नाही ही गोष्ट काढायकरता, जगात कुणाकोणा काय काय माहित नाही हे कळणार, कसं करणार मला? मला जे माहित नाही ते उत्तर दिले का? उत्तर दिले का मोबाईलमध्ये? हा, या साईडला व्ही इन टी आहे, या साईडला काय आहे? व्ही इन टी मायनस यू आहे. यू स्टार्टिंग फ्रॉम 0 टू इन्फिनिटी आहे, म्हणजे ह्या साईडला आहे, या साईडला नाही आहे. व्ही इन टी मायनस यू टेल्स यू द इनपुट सम टाइम बॅक, म्हणजे सम टाइम बॅक ची मल्टिपल ऍड करायचं आणि ते करंट इनपुट झालं पाहिजे. म्हणजे मिनिंग काय? The inputs received earlier have no significance. इथं फक्त करंट इनपुटच आहे, म्हणून मी इन्फिनिटी लिमिटला अर्थ नाही, तर मी काय लिहितो? 0च लिहितो. आत्ताच इनपुट, फक्त दोन्ही लिमिट सेम चालत नाहीत, म्हणून काय लागतं? काय करतो? बरोबर आहे. आणि मग काय केलं? टी मायनस यू कॉन्सेप्टच गेला. काय आलं? हे टीच नाही. बट नॉन सायंटिफिक आहे, पण काय अशा पद्धतीने आपण करतोय. बरोबर आहे. आता इंटिग्रेशन ओव्हर काय आहे? यू आहे. मगाशी बाहेर काढता येत नव्हतं. आता ह्या टर्म मध्ये यूचा काय संबंध आहे का? आहे. सो व्हॉट कॅन हॅपन? दॅट कॅन टेक आउट व्ही. So now what can happen? Gets cancelled. So what is HU? HU is such a function which is HU du, integration of HU du from 0 minus to 0 plus is 2. What does it mean? What is HU? मी सांगू शकत नाही इमिजिएटली, पण आता मला काय मिळालंय? HU is such a function for which HU d, what is du? Delta u tending to 0. Delta u tending to 0. So it's a strip whose width is tending to 0. And what is HU du then? It is area. बघा म्हणजे अगदी मी याच्यापेक्षा सोपं हे बालवाडी म्हणजे इंजिनिअरिंग मधलं बालवाडी शिकवण्यासारखं आहे. HU du is what? As du, HU du is a strip of infinitesimally small width and infinite height with area 2. What is HU? And this is, so it is, each and every word is important. So 0 minus to 0 plus HU du equal to 2 corresponds to a narrow strip, a narrow strip 0 minus to 0 plus around 0 of infinitesimal width and infinite height. This is not enough. Suppose if now let us say that you purchase some plot, then you say that I have purchased a plot which is 40 feet wide and 60 feet long and area 240 स्क्वेअर फीट असं सांगा का तुम्ही. मी 40 बाय 60 चा प्लॉट घेतलाय, मी 40 बाय 60 चा 2400 स्क्वेअर फूटचा प्लॉट घेतला, सांगायची गरज असते का हो? का नाही? तो घरात बघतोय की आता अजून किती वेळ आहे माझं त्याला इंटेलेक्च्युअल स्ट्रेस हा किती वेळ पडणार आहे. 40 बाय 60 चा प्लॉट म्हटला की त्याचा एरिया 2400 आलाच, पण इन्फिनिटिसिमली स्मॉल, इन्फिनिटिसिमल विड्थ अँड इनफायनाइट हाईट म्हणलं की काय होऊ शकतं? देयर आर व्हेरियस पॉसिबिलिटीज. बघा कशा. आय लिसन व्हेरी केअरफुली. आय स्टार्ट विथ a square. I start with a square of area 1. I start with a square of area 1. And then what I do? Each time I reduce its width by half and double the height. What will happen? And this I do continuously. Each time I reduce the width by half and I increase the length by, I double the length. Means I half the width and double the length. मग पहिल्या केसनं काय होईल? width half, length, height double 2. पुढच्या वेळेला width 1/4, height 4. So this I do continuously. So what will happen? What would be the ultimate limit? What would be width? As you do it continuously, what would be width after infinite iterations? Width will not become, width will not diminish. It would be infinitesimally small. What would be height? Infinitely large. So an infinitesimally small, what would be area of the rectangle who has got infinitesimally small width and infinite height? Suppose if I have started with this square of 4, what will happen? And do the same process. After infinite iterations, what would be height? What would be width? Infinitesimally small. What would be height? Infinitely large. So infinities are non-unique and infinitesimals are also non-unique. So their product is also not unique. So we can have multiple rectangles of different areas which have got infinitesimally small width and infinite height. Is it clear? So this corresponds to a narrow strip around 0 of infinitesimal width and infinite height and area 2. Right, so we need to specify from where we have started. Right? This is HU. So what is HU? And this is called an impulse. So it is shown like this. It is shown like this. Impulse. It's an arrow indicating height is infinite. And we write 2 here. What does it mean? All impulses are having infinitesimally small width and infinite height, but areas are different depending upon how you have started them. So HUD means if I have started with the function that VOT is equal to 3 VT, what would have happened? This would have been 3, this would have been 3, this would have been 3. So HUDU 3. So all are impulses with an impulse. So the time domain transfer function of an instantaneously responding system is an impulse whose area is equal to gain of the system. Whose area is equal to gain of the system. However, in practice, such system can't be realized. And therefore, what happens is an ideal amplifier of gain 2. So, for an ideal amplifier of gain 2, the transfer function is impulse. This is the transfer function of an ideal amplifier of gain 2. Whereas, for a practical amplifier, we get such thing. This area. Ideal amplifier is an impulse, and practical amplifier, or we can have another one, I will show you in large scale. A good amplifier is very high, height very high, and HT is a very narrow dying exponential, fast dying, and area, such a curved area, is good amplifier. And for